Hey guys, it's Diana. Thanks for tuning in today. I wanted to do a video that is just back to the basics. I want you to have a wonderful time creating and using rubber stamps to craft with. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning, back to the basics. So the very minimum you would need to create a project with a rubber stamp. So everything you see in my video will be Stampin' Up. I've been a Stampin' Up demonstrator for about 25 years now at this time. And I just really love their products. I know you can buy other products elsewhere. I know that Stampin' Up stands behind their products 100%. So that's just the product that I prefer. But have fun stamping. If you do use a different product and you're not happy, please don't give up on stamping. Just give up on that product. Maybe try Stampin' Up because that's what I did when I first started. When I very first started, I went to a workshop and this lady, she did a whole bunch of fun stuff and embossed, and then so I left there and I went to Hobby Lobby and I bought all the fun stuff, and nothing worked like she showed it working. So, and that's just because of the quality of the product. So it's not all the same. But I wanted to just start at the very beginning, back to the basics. So your basic supplies for making a project: SIP, stamps, ink, paper. So I've got my stamp set here. I do have a cling stamp set today. I have my ink. This is Pear Pizzazz from Stampin' Up. And I do have my cardstock. I have a very vanilla color and also the Pear Pizzazz. The neat thing also about Stampin' Up is their colors coordinate. I've also got a paper trimmer because I'm going to show you how to start from the very beginning using full sheets of paper. These are 8.5 by 11 sheets of cardstock. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, you're also going to need, because I'm using a cling stamp set, you're going to need an acrylic block. So I have my acrylic block here too. So I'm going to set these off to the side for just a second and just going to show you. So when you have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, we want to make a card that is the finished size will be 5.5 by 4 1/4. So if you take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock and you cut that in half, depending on whether you want a vertical card or a horizontal card, what you do is, this is a scoring blade, and at the bottom here I have a cutting blade. And so what you're going to do is, I'm just going to cut this, since this is the 11 side, half of 11 is 5.5. So I'm lining up my 5.5 right here on the top of my cutter. So just line that up. It has a little groove up here at the top, so that actually stops it from, makes it kind of even, and also stops it from moving around. So you just line it up with the little 5.5. Use your cutting blade, and now I have 2 cards. These folded in half will make our card size. But it's best if you can score. So half of this side, which is 8.5, would be 4 1/4. So I'm going to go over here to my 4 1/4. And I'm just going to score with my scoring blade. And that just scores the line. And that just means that it's going to be a smoother fold. If you don't have a scoring blade, that's fine. You can use a ruler and a back of a butter knife or a fork tine to score. It just means that it folds neater. So if I fold this sheet, you can see that it has a nice crisp fold. This one that's not scored, I can sure do it. See, if I just fold this in half and fold it like that, you can see how it doesn't quite, I mean, it's okay. It bubbles a little bit, if you can see at the top. It bubbles just a little bit. But if you take that, like I said, the back of a butter knife or something, or use a bone folder to score that down a little bit flatter, you'll be fine. So don't make that your deal breaker as to whether you make cards or not, okay? It just makes it a little bit easier if you score it. The next thing I have is I have our layer piece, which you don't have to have. You could do everything on this vanilla piece of cardstock if you would like. That's perfectly fine, but I wanted to show you how you actually would get a layer. So if our card is 5.5 by 4 1/4, then we're gonna want a little bit of a border. So I'm gonna cut this piece at 5 1/4, so that's a 1/4 of an inch smaller. And then when I flip it, I'm gonna cut this piece by 4 because our other piece was 4 1/4. So I have all of this left that I'll set aside out of the camera. And here is our layer piece. So because we cut it a little bit smaller, what that's going to do is it's going to layer nicely on our cardstock and leave a little bit of a border. Does that make sense? Perfect. Okay, so let's get down to stamping. The simple part of stamping. Cutting is sometimes difficult for people because of the measuring, but that's why I wanted to deal with that. So with this, what we're going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit, I've got my stamps and my ink and my block, and we're going to start out with this piece right here. Now when you open a stamp set, this is a cling stamp set, it's a foam, it has some foam underneath it, so it doesn't need anything to go with it except for your block, but we're going to use this big piece right here to start with. Let's set this aside. This is really, really sticky. A lot of other products, sorry, I have to lean over a little bit to get that lined up. Yes. A lot of other products that we've tried, Stampin' Up! Makes the cling that makes it really, really sticky. We've had some products in the past that aren't as sticky, and people have a lot of trouble having them stick to their acrylic block. A couple things, if this is not sticky anymore, okay, what you can do is use some old cling that you've had when you put your stamp sets together, which I'll do in another video. You can tear that off and put a little piece right on top. You can use double stick tape to put on the top here just to keep it sticky. Some of the liquid glue you can put on there and let it dry, and then it just dries tacky. So don't give up on those if they're no longer sticky, okay? There's things that you can do, and you can message me. I can help walk you through that. But the Stampin' Up! Ones are so sticky. They work really, really well. Sometimes you even have to use a little spatula to get them off of this plastic. That's how sticky they are. It's crazy. But we're going to use this big piece for our sample today. I'm going to set this aside just to kind of get an idea. So I meant to grab a Post-it note. Let me grab a Post-it note. So I've got a couple of Post-it notes here, and you can use just a plain sheet of paper if you would like, but I want to make a little, without adding any layers, I want to add a little bit of texture to this card. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of layer these together so that they fit across my card a little bit. I guess I could use these little lines on my grid. If you have grid paper, you can, that's a good source to use also. That helps keep things lined up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tear off little pieces and kind of make it a little bit jagged. This is just kind of make a little layered area. There we go. I'm going to make a little layered area without adding any layers. So all I've done is, this is called masking, and all I've done is just kind of masked off. So wherever I stamp, whatever's under this Post-it note is not going to be stamped, of course. So let's try this and I'll show you. With these pads, there's a little thumbnail print right here. It has the name, you put the name on, and you just pop, if you put your thumb there and you pop it open and then slide it back. And then here's the color block right in there. So this is called Pear Pizzazz, and with our with the foam stamps, you don't really need the piece of foam underneath. I have a piece of foam underneath here, but that's just usually because I have photopolymer. There's another type of stamp called photopolymer that I'll go into at a different video with you, but this is just a regular foam cling stamp. So I tap mine back and forth just to make sure everything gets nice and inked. Now this is also, you can kind of see it has different textures built into the stamp. So I'm going to just stamp this down, just firm, even pressure, and you can see it already puts the texture in the stamp. That's built into the actual stamp. So that's kind of why I love Stampin' Up! So much, is they actually do most of the creativity for you. And I'm just going to flip my stamp over so it kind of gives it a little bit different look. I'm going to keep going back in. You have to re-ink if you want a different look. Okay, so make sure you re-ink your stamp each time. You can double stamp. You can stamp again without re-inking. It'll give a much lighter tone to it. But that's another way to get a couple of different colors of stamp from one stamp pad. So you'll see I've got everything stamped here. I've got a couple little places in here that I want to add some more color to, but I'm going to go ahead and just clean my stamp off and show you how to do that. So in this is just a stamp case. So, okay, just an empty stamp case. And I've put a little piece of our chamois. This is our Stampin' Chamois. It just has water on it. And yes, it looks dirty, but it's not. So I'm just going to clean my stamp off with just a little bit of water. You can also use our stamp cleaner. We also have like a scrubby pad that you can use if that's more comfortable for you. Now, because it's not dry, I am going to dry it off with a little bit of just a hand towel that I have here. So, and then that way, when I go back, I can just store that clean directly back on my set, on my acrylic here. And then we're just going to grab this little guy, okay, some from the same set. I'm going to put him in here. I just want to grab a couple of little areas that are a little bit too small. So just to kind of fill that up. And I will show you some ideas here. So just kind of to fill all the negative space. Again, I'm going to clean, and I'm just kind of tapping it. Put that away. Get my little dryer. Oh, see, he's really stuck. These are such good stamps, really. So I'm going to put this on here. We're going to do one more thing. I'm going to use the hello there. And just to show you, so now that we have this, if we peel this up, it's going to leave that blank space. Isn't that cool? So we've actually just added kind of a layered effect without layering anything. So I'm just going to ink this up really lightly and stamp that here. Caught a little edge, but yeah, I'll show you what we can do for that. It's kind of hard because I'm sitting way far behind the area, so I kind of tend to rock. That's one of the things. Just try not to rock your stamps. When you stamp, you just stamp nice and flat and even with no rocking. But what we'll do here is we'll just ink this little guy back up. I'm going to pull it towards me a little bit because I cannot see. You can stamp just like that, kind of stamp it over there. So see, everything is an opportunity, okay? You didn't mess it up. Also, the other thing I'm going to show you in just a second is you can just use the back of the card, okay? It's okay. It's cardstock. It's a little bit heavier, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and close my pad. So you just pull it towards you and make sure it's nice and closed, and then stack them. You can store them stacked if you would like. Okay, so let me show you here a couple of different things. So now we have our stamped item, and what we could do is just layer that with a little bit of glue or tape right there. And you've got your simple, easy stamped card. Okay? Handmade. Send it right out. Isn't it neat though that the stamp, the way they created the stamp, it gives those dark, medium, and lighter areas, even though you only used one color stamp pad. Isn't that cool? And Eden's Garden, that stamp set is available now for purchase. So, and you can check out that stuff in the link down below. Isn't that fun? Well, let me show you a couple more tips before I let you go, because I want you to know a couple of other things. Because I do this for fun, and I just want to be honest with you. So here is my first attempt And you can see I didn't like this one because a couple things. There's not enough, you can't see where I had the little torn edge enough. So I thought, okay, well, I need to add some more. The other thing is, if you can see these, the hello there was a little bit bubbly when I stamped it. Well, that was the first time I used it. So the first time you use a stamp, sometimes it has the release on it from the mold. So what I did was I took a little bit of a light emery board on that stamp and I just lightly went back and forth on that stamp. It just takes that adhesive release off of that stamp. So now your ink will stick better. So there's one tip for you. So if you have a stamp that you don't like because it doesn't give a really smooth stamped impression, try the emery board, okay? Try the emery board. Okay, to fix the other part, what I did was I just flipped my paper over, okay? Just flip it over. You can stamp on the back side. See, you can't see what I did, and it's going to be stuck to the card, so you will never even know that that was on the back, okay? So don't give up on your stamping. It's fine, and you can see that the hello there was a lot smoother when I stamped it after I used that emery board. Okay, so here's our finished project, or here is our finished project. So anyway, that is back to the basics. That's all you need, guys. Okay, so please let me know how you like this video, and I will be doing some more. Sorry I didn't bring my adhesive to the table. I don't have a lot of fancy setup, so these will be very basic, and I like to make things fun for you, so my things will be a lot simpler. So anyway, have a great day, and I hope you tune in again. Thanks. Bye.